Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker. I rise today to speak on a bill that I'm particularly passionate about. This has been one that's been grinding my gears for some time, so it gives me great pleasure to rise today to support the Fair Trading Gift Cards Amendment Bill 2018, which is before the House today. And whilst it may be considered a minor matter by some, certainly not by me, this bill is just one of the many things that will contribute to running a more efficient and stable government, offering increased protection for consumers and forming part of a series of amendments planned to the Fair Trading Act. The legislation is specific to protect consumers by requiring gift cards in South Australia to have a minimum 3-year expiry date. It is staggering, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, that according to consumer advocate group Choice, that of the approximately $2.5 billion spent on gift cards every year, Australians are losing about $200 million of that. That's about 1/3 of them have been found to have lost their value and expired because of a lack of legal certainty in this area of consumer law. Finding you've run out of time to use the card is a particular consideration for consumers in regional and remote areas, as they don't have regular or ready access to stores which often offer gift cards which have grown in variety and range in recent years. It can be difficult to get to major metropolitan centres frequently or often when living in regional or remote South Australia, and it often results in gift cards lapsing. This law will provide a minimum expiry date for their use and, importantly, will provide consistency from retailers, reducing confusion for customers faced with a variety of timeframes and expiry dates when using such cards, which are essentially the same value as cash but with terms and conditions attached. Some cards offer 5 years, others as little as 3 months, and more don't carry a date at all, but when you go to use them, they are often designated out of date because they are just a vague too old, thus effectively rendering a well-meaning relative or friend's hard-earned money just thrown away into the bin. I wonder how many of us in this House have fibbed a little when Auntie Mary asks us the following Christmas what we bought with her gift card from the previous year. Knowing we'd forgotten all about it by April and had assumed we'd run out of time to use it. Consumers deserve to get what they've paid for without unnecessary restrictions, especially since the businesses who issued the card get to retain the cash. This legislation will protect consumers by ensuring that gift cards purchased in South Australia are required to have a minimum expiry date of 3 years, and the across-the-board consistency, I believe, will be welcomed by both consumers and retailers. It provides certainty around rights and obligations of all parties and is already working well in New South Wales. It is important to note too that the proposed 3-year expiry will apply to all gift cards sold in South Australia to a person residing in South Australia at the time of the purchase. I clarify, the bill will not apply to gift cards purchased online or over the phone where the gift card is to be delivered to the consumer at an address outside of South Australia, or where the contact details of the consumer provided in connection with the sale of the gift card includes a residential address outside of SA. Targeted consultation will be undertaken to prescribe categories of gift cards that will be exempt from the new provisions, for example, temporary marketing promotions or vouchers supplied for charitable purposes. It is also important to highlight this bill is intended not to apply to reward and loyalty programs or vouchers donated for charitable purposes, but that exemptions for these would form part of the regulations to be drafted in consultation with business during the bill's passage. Consumer and business services will be responsible for the enforcement and compliance of the new laws around gift cards as proposed. Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, I support the Fair Trading Gift Cards Amendment Bill 2018 as I believe there is a need for reform in this area which will make gift cards more consumer-friendly and eliminate confusion around varying rules of the myriad of gift cards in the market. Most importantly, I believe the bill will reduce the financial loss being experienced by consumers and offer security in the knowledge that if the validity of their card is questioned at the shop, they will know there is a mandated minimum 3-year timeframe which will ensure they can confidently stand up for their consumer rights at the point of purchase, should it be necessary. It will also be welcomed by consumers who do not want to be rushed into purchases they otherwise might make, just to be able to tell dear old Auntie Mary what they have purchased with her gift card. I also note funding for a public education campaign in respect of these changes will also be required and will be sought in a subsequent bill to address ticket scalping. I applaud the efforts of the Attorney-General and her staff in forming this bill, which will be welcomed by consumers and is not expected to have any effects on business apart from offering increased consistency of trading practices for their gift cards, which, in making them more user-friendly, is likely to increase popularity in their use, which will bring benefits for retailers. By legislating for a 3-year expiry date, we are protecting consumers from unjustifiable and unfair expiry dates and balancing this appropriately with the needs of business. So, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, this policy promotes good consumer protection reform without adding any red tape or impost on business. In fact, I note that companies like Apple and Bunnings have already taken up practice. And with that in mind, I commend this piece of legislation to the House and recommend it highly.
The member for Enfield.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker. I just thought I'd say a few brief words on this. Any move to improve